Hello. Well, we had an exciting game against the Ducks. That's something. That's rare. Golden Knights do not win this one, but the good news is I thought this game had a little bit of like, we're here. We're the Ducks. It's time for the Ducks to be the team that can be here and make it difficult on the Golden Knights. And they were doing that for 40 minutes until they weren't. And then for the last 20 minutes until overtime, we got a classic Golden Knights versus Ducks game where they're just all over them. Ducks can't get it out of the zone. Vegas's forecheck is tenacious, wave after wave after wave of pressure, despite being down one of their centers and one of their more important players in William Karlsson. We'll talk about him in a minute, but it got back to the dominant force that we've grown to be used to. Now, I do think the Ducks are in a position where they are coming along and they are now all of a sudden more dangerous than they were before. And it wouldn't shock me if they're there towards the end being a playoff contender type of team. But I think today was a pretty good example, at least on November 8th, that they're not ready to compete with the Golden Knights long term. And like, maybe I don't want to go nuts about the last 20 minutes and just ignore the first 40, because I do think like there is an argument to say like, well, they got the lead and then they kind of sat back and Vegas played it. But I've seen enough of these games. I've seen so many times where the Golden Knights have opportunities to play a team like this. And what they did was a lot of the same things that they have done in the past, which is why I feel like this was another example of them being able to get the job done in a way that is like, we've seen it before, right? Like, we've seen these games before, and I wasn't sure what we were going to get. For a little while there, it looked like maybe they are coming. Yeah, there's one of the like scissor lifts taking down the castle and the dragon behind me. You'll have to, he literally drove over here and then just turned around right in front of me. Would have been nice if they had gone, whatever. That's what the beeping was. It'll probably continue because they're taking down the dragon over there. Hopefully it's not too annoying moving forward. But those last 20 minutes to me are significant. They are a great example still without William Karlsson, without Mark Stone, with a backup goalie in the goal in Akira Schmidt, backup goalie in the other goal too. But in that 20 minutes, the Golden Knights are in a great position to win that game. Not only do they come back from down 2, yes, power play goal had a huge part in that, but they were constantly pressuring. They were doing the things that what they look like when they're at their best. They're not allowing anything coming the other way. And despite it ends up being a tie game late, they still were the aggressor, pushing the game forward, trying to get that game-winning goal. Overtime, we may get into overtime. I don't know. I don't really care. I will say, though, as much as I felt like today was an opportunity for the Ducks to kind of show some dominance against the Golden Knights, to say, we're here, we're ready to challenge you, and I don't believe that quite happened. I think the Golden Knights still hold their spot and say, look, we can still push you around when we need to. I do think that the overall sense of 14 games, the Golden Knights have only won 7 of 14. This is considered now for sure a quote unquote slow start from a Cassidy team. This is definitely the slowest they've started in his 4 seasons here. They do not usually have only 7 wins. Now, the 4 overtime losses help a lot in the fact that they are 4 points that they would not have had. And one of the overtimes they ended up winning, that was a game that they absolutely should have lost. So in that respect, the points are looking, in my opinion, better than they actually are, based on the fact that every single one of those games, you can argue the Kings game is not the case of this, but they were down multiple goals in that game as well. They were the team coming back, not the team getting the goals or giving up the goals to send it to overtime. They were not the team protecting the leads. They were the team trying to come back. Seattle, LA, San Jose, Tampa, and now Anaheim. Now, some of them different than others. They were, some of them were closer to the end. Some of them were not, whatever. The point is, they've not been giving up late, cheap goals or like weird bounces or whatever, that these are wins that have been turned into overtime losses. These have mostly been losses that have turned into overtime losses that have gotten them extra points. So in that respect, as much as I sit here and I will tell you that final 20 minutes indicated to me they're fine against the Ducks. They're in good shape against a Ducks team that is coming along, getting better, and I believe the Ducks are going to be a team that is closer. But if you were to tell me we're playing a playoff series right now with this team, I like Vegas in 5. I don't think they'll be able to withstand the pressure that Vegas was able to put on them as that game went on. And I think that's what we would see over a longer period of time. Now, obviously, the season doesn't go that way. It's not we play the Ducks every single game until we get there. So it doesn't really matter. That's why the more overwhelming, or like overarching portion of the season is what I want to look at. And the big piece to that, to me, is now they are scoring first and they're still falling behind. This has happened a couple of times now. I just feel like it's not all coming together. The days where the defense is there and defending real well in front of their own goal, the offense is slowing down. And the days that the offense is kind of kicking it up a little bit more, there's turnovers that allow the defense to kind of let down. There's times where the power play was kicking and 5-on-5 wasn't. Now 5-on-5's been better and the power play's not doing particularly well. Penalty kill's been good, but then they kind of gave a couple up against Tampa. And it's like it's not all coming together. And because of that, we're now in a position where I feel like 7 wins, 7 losses is not great. They're not in a position where they've kind of run out and put themselves in a great position. They're driving the scissor lift by me again, so deal with the beeping here for a second. Nonetheless, I am pretty happy with the fact that this game could have gone down a much different road. This game could have been, especially after the goal was not scored on the power play at the beginning of the third period, that's a 2-goal game, right? That's a 2-goal deficit heading into the third period against a team playing well. Now, they do have their backup goalie in there. It might be a different game if Dostal's in there. I don't know. He's borderline Vezina quality goalie this season, so it might end up being different. But to be able to come out and change that narrative, I'm talking about something completely different if this game ends 3-1. And after the 2 minutes of not scoring on the power play to start it, then you find a way to keep building on that, earn the next power play, get the opportunities to score the goal, finally get the goal on the power play, get the goal at 5-on-5 that clearly was deserved, and that goal was coming for a while there. Tie the game, continue pushing, look like you've got the best opportunities to go on and win the game. Doesn't end up happening, that's all right. That's the benefit of having an 82-game season. It's okay. The narrative, though, would have been different if they had not had that 20-minute stretch. And the good news is it was long enough that I feel comfortable in telling you that when these teams play each other a lot, you're going to see more of what we saw in the last 20 minutes than what you saw in the first 40. I just feel like some of the things that the Ducks were getting away with early, they didn't anymore as we moved we moved a little bit further in the game. So overall, don't feel great about where they're at. Stone being out, huge part of that. Hill being out, not as huge a part of it, but definitely part of it. Hannafin was out for a little while. Other teams dealing with injuries too. Everybody kind of does. I don't feel like they're the juggernaut that maybe the standings indicate to a degree. It's hard to say the standings indicate because they're still in second place now by 3 points. However, they're still near the top of the league. The points percentage is still very good. I don't think they've been as good as the record has indicated. The record says 7-7-7, but the record also says 7-3-4, which gives you, 18 points, 18 points in 12 games. That's good enough. Or is it for I don't know, whatever. You know, 7, 3, 10, 4. So it's 18 and 14, right? Like that's good enough. Carlson, Cassidy said that it was a lower body injury. I found it very odd that he did the interview before then leaving the game. I don't know what occurred there. He said he expects him to be considered day-to-day, but he doesn't know yet, and he's not ready to say that. That scared me a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what that's going to be. They're not going to skate tomorrow. So we're not going to get an update tomorrow. We are going to then get an update when Florida comes in on Monday. So that will give us a little bit more information. It wouldn't shock me if he doesn't play on Monday. That's going to be a problem. No Stone, no Carlson, no Hill. I don't know whether they're going to go with Lindbaum or Schmid. On the Schmid goal, because I saw some yapping about that. The second one is the one that most were bothered by. I think it was the second one. Might have been the third one. Carlson roofed the one. That one was nasty. Not a lot you could do about it. The one that slipped under the 5-hole in regulation, I believe it was also Carlson, Leo Carlson. So the shot's going high, and there's a White Cloud stick check to get it. Right? And it hits the stick and stays low. So he reads it as a high shot, tries to get up, get his body high to the crossbar, cover as much as he can. Puck stays low and finds a way through the 5-hole. That's looked like a real bad goal live. I don't think it is. The one in overtime, there's potentially something there of they were really looking for his 5-hole in overtime. And twice they had shots where it looked like it got through him. He did the old look back. They didn't, and then they get one that a defenseman, Jacob Trouba, who does not score a lot of goals. How many does he have this season? He has 4. Well, that's more than I would have guessed. He's able to slip one through and get that goal. Akira Schmid's not the future of the goaltending position on this team. I just don't think he is. We'll see who is moving forward. I think they still want it to be Hill. Lindbaum, it's still early. He's still very young. We will see. Hart, again, we will see what ends up occurring with that, how everything goes with that. Time will tell on that. But, I think Schmidt's been good enough. He's been fine. Respect you greatly, but this is a very glass half full readout. Injuries mounting, weak defensive play, and inconsistent offense. So you're saying I'm glass half full? That's interesting. I'm saying 7 wins, 7 losses isn't very good. I think the defense has been better than they're getting credit for. There have been some issues. There's no question about it. I think the biggest issue the defense has had, and Cassidy spoke to this today a little bit, and that's something I want to dive into a little bit further as we move forward with him on what's going on, and that is their breakouts are not allowing the transition game to get opportunities. And that is something that actually I would have guessed opposite was going to be the case. I would have guessed in zone was going to be more of a problem, that they're going to have breakdowns in the zone. They're going to have a little bit of breakdown on exits. And that's because they don't have great defensive defensemen up and down the list. But it's been more so the rim arounds, the bump arounds, the wheel plays, all of the different things that defenseman to defenseman or defenseman making that first or second pass hasn't been good enough, hasn't been quick enough. It's inviting pressure on them. And then beyond that, the bumps off the wall, the jams up the wall, the plays by the wingers haven't been good enough. Mark Stone being out makes a huge impact on that as well. That portion hasn't been good enough. And that's why it's muting some of the rush offense. That's why I think the Carlson-Smith-Sod line hasn't had as much success, or I guess they've been with Howden. They did get one, and they were able to score today. That's why I think the fourth line hasn't had some of the success that maybe they could have, even though they were not particularly bad in this game. They have been good in recent games, whatever. Defensively in front of their own goal, it's fine. It's not great. It's not Stanley Cup contending, Stanley Cup winning level, but it's not bad. So I'm not going to crush them on that. Scoring and the offense as a whole, I think it's just too top heavy at the moment. And that is something that's red flag. Maybe as we move forward, it's got to be more than Pavel and Eichel and Marner. And Marner's not even scoring. It's basically Pavel and Eichel are doing most of the scoring. It's got to be more than that. Howden gets the one today. Korczak gets the one today. But even the Korczak play is mostly born out of Marner making that stick check on Lacombe, batting that puck out of the air. That's what creates that. It's the Howdens, the Kolazars, the Smiths, the Sods, Reinhart. You could even make an argument up the lineup if you wanted to go further and not scoring as much with Marner. I'm not there yet. I'm definitely not. I do think they're going to need more supplemental scoring, and part of that is defense. They've got to get more out of the defense. Those guys have to score. Shea Theodore, Noah Hannafin, we need some goals or at least some points. Every single goal the Golden Knights have scored from a defenseman this season has been by Caden Korzak. 2 of them, both big ones. He's got them all. 2. I'm going to write about it because the numbers are pretty staggering. Now, obviously, today we get what? 2. Yeah, just the 2. Hannafin had 1 and then the goal. So that's got to come forward as well. I don't believe at the moment that that the Golden Knights are in a position where I can say against a good team, they're going to roll 4 lines out and make life difficult on them for 60 minutes. I don't think that the lineup is there. I don't think it's clicking at the level that it potentially needs to be. If you have other questions, go ahead and pop them in the comments. I'll take some of the ones that I've seen so far. But first, I'll tell you that this Periscope and all Periscopes are brought to you by the Jimmerson Law Firm. Jimmerson Law Firm is one of Las Vegas' preeminent law firms specializing in high-stakes business, civil, and family litigation. When winning matters, seek out the Jimmerson Law Firm. Winning does matter, and winning has not been happening a lot around here. I believe that's 2 of 7. Pretty much since Stone went out, if I'm not mistaken. But it's not good. They have gotten some points out of it. That is good. Why isn't he running 4 lines is the question, because they're not good enough. Today, obviously, you can't because you don't have Carlson for a good portion of whatever it was, I guess the last 40 minutes. He played the entire first period. By the way, we did look in the intermission, we being me and some of the other people up in the media row there. We don't see anything in particular. There's one play earlier in the period where he kind of went into the wall on like a little slashy type thing. Didn't look too bad. Didn't look lower body on that one. So I don't know what that one ends up being. I don't like when we can't see it. I like it better when we can see it, because usually that indicates like we know we're like, we can usually give some sort of a timeline. Not ones we can't see, could be muscle pulls, could be bad things. I don't know. We will see. Hopefully that's not the case. But why aren't they running 4 lines when they are healthier? At least with this roster without Stone, it's because they're not getting consistent contributions because there are holes. You're not getting much scoring at all. And you're not even getting, in my opinion, great defensive play from the 4th line, which is supposed to be the case when Sissons is in there. Hasn't really been happening. So they're not going to play all that much. They don't play a ton anyway. 3rd line, which is usually Carlson with whoever it happens to be. Smith tends to be on one side. And then whether it's Howden or Saad or whoever, I don't think they've done the job to this point. Who you want to blame on that, that's up to you. I'm not sure I'm ready to pick a culprit quite yet. I do think there are alarm bells ringing on how good is Brandon Saad right now, how good is Riley Smith right now. I think there are. I'm not at the point where I'm saying like these guys are done. This is no good. We got to get rid of all of them. I do think we might get there. It is heading that way. At least it has through 14 games. So we will see what happens with that. But the difference in how dangerous they look when Eichel and Marner are out there and when Hertl and Pavel are out there is stark compared to how dangerous they look when they're not. So because of that, you're not going to get them running through all of it. So there's a lot of questions about Shea. I'll just take some of this. So obviously the overtime turnover is not good. There have been a few of those. That's a problem. They're going to have to figure out what they want to do on that. I don't know, because that's part of Shea's game and what's going on with him. Like, in overtime, he's got to be better with the puck. There probably just needs to be a better focus on don't take as many risks. Put yourself in a position where you're not turning the puck over, even if that means throwing it deep and or whatever. I don't know. We'd have to pick out individual moments. At 5-on-5, I'll stand by. I don't believe that he is the 1A defenseman on a Stanley Cup winning team. I just don't think that that's going to end up being the case. I'm also pretty sure Hannafin's not the 1-0, 1A defenseman heading forward. Like, I just, it doesn't seem to me like they have that guy anymore. That was my concern going in. That has been my concern now. As I mentioned earlier, I feel like it's cropping up a little bit more in breakouts, not leading to quick transition, not leading to getting them out of their zone and getting that where the game is tilted one way, that they have the ability to put on a defensive pair, put on the 1D, and he tilts it back the other way. That's something Pietrangelo was stupendous at. oftentimes he would be put in a bad situation coming into a shift with the puck already in his own zone, or them wheeling at it with their top line coming on, and he walked away with a better position with either the Golden Knights having possession or the puck deep or stoppage or whatever. I don't think that's been happening. And that's where, to me, it's more of personnel issue of the entirety of the defense as opposed to putting this all on Shea Theodore. Yes, the turnovers are not good enough. There are issues, there are problems that potentially can be fixed. I don't know. We will see. But I think the fact that they've been put in that role, Theodore has been put in the role, Hanifin will inevitably be put in the role. Hanifin was on the ice for all 3 goals against. That is a running problem that has been a problem since the moment he got here. That's not the case of a 1A defenseman. That's the bigger issue to me. So the answer is not get rid of this player, get rid of that player. That's not the answer. It's find the right guys to put the players back in the role. And the issue is they don't have a lot of availability in regards to space and trade assets to put themselves back in that position because they used all of the Pietrangelo money on Marner. So far, that's not translating into the offense I thought it might. That is, the ship's not sailed on that by any stretch of the imagination. And also, so far, defensively, I think they've been better. I think they've been better than I expected. So that's where we can't go nuts about it 14 games in early November. That being said, there are question marks there that I don't believe 7 wins in 14 games are giving the answer to. So that's where I'm at on that. When do they start making trades is the question there. I think we're still a ways out from that. It has not been bad enough that they have to make some crazy sound the alarm type of information. We're not there, like, at all. I don't even think we're all that close to that. Mark Stone being out matters. Mark Stone, I believe, is going to be back within the next, 4 to 6 weeks or so. So in that case, we should be back to getting a better picture of what they look like with him. And you don't want to make trades and put yourself in a different position when you don't know what it looks like with him. Now, the games they played weren't that great with him. It was better. It was definitely better. I want to say they won 5 of 8 or so, something like that. I don't know, 5 of whatever. I don't know, 4 of 6. Either way. But San Jose game wasn't particularly good. Seattle game wasn't particularly good. The LA game that was a loss wasn't particularly good. Like, there were some issues in there. So I don't think we're anywhere close to that. Do we have Hill updates? There was a report from Elliot Friedman saying Christmas. So that's your Hill update. What exactly it is, I don't know. But Christmas. Are we biding our time, playing harder towards the end to make the playoffs? And then I saw somebody else saying, are we in danger of not making the playoffs? Where is that one? I can't find it now. No, I don't believe they are in any fear of not making the playoffs, but also no, I don't think that this is like the Golden Knights are not engaged or they're not giving everything. That would be closer to Edmonton. Look what happened to Edmonton tonight. I think it was 9-1. They lost at home to Colorado. The Golden Knights did not lose 9-1 at home to Colorado. Golden Knights didn't play well in that game. Clearly were the second best team on that night, but the effort was there. The challenge was there. It was a close game late. They were in a good position. I am not concerned because I don't believe that the NHL is all that deep of great teams or even good teams. I think the Golden Knights are clearly a step above every single team that's going to miss the playoffs, and probably many of the ones that do. So I do not have much fear of that. Now, things can change. There can be injuries. There can be things that occur. I'm just not there or even close. 18 points in 14 games, perfectly fine. Over 100-point pace. That being said, I said it before, I'll say it again. I think the record is better than they play. I don't believe they've played great. They've really only played 2 games that I've really, really liked. Both of them were against the same opponent. That's Carolina. When does Braden Bowman get a look? That's been a question from a couple of different people. Yeah, he's doing great in Henderson. He's very young, and he plays the style of game that I think is going to take some time to translate in the NHL. So if he gets a chance, and I do believe he will get a chance, and it would not even shock me if he's who gets a chance if Carlson is out, because I think Howden would then go in the center. I think Holtz could potentially go back in, but I do think inevitably they will want to take a look at him. I don't think that the expectation should be extremely high on him yet. I am very high on Braden Bowman. I have been high on Braden Bowman all summer. I've been telling you guys this kid's good. This guy can really play, and he's doing it in the AHL right now. The kid's good. But I just think the style, the way he plays, the things he's great at, I don't think are going to be immediately impacting at the NHL level. I hope I'm wrong. I do think you will get a look at him at some point, especially if he continues to score. Other things that were going on, let me think. Power play, there was a different look on the power play today. They moved Marner up to what they usually run what's called a 1-3-1, 1-3-1 defenseman here, 3 in the middle, and then the 1 down by the goal. They switched it to a 2 defenseman, which was Marner, you get it, and 3, right? So they switched to a 2-3. It looked bad. I didn't like it. It's not how they scored the goal. They scored the goal by winning a draw and then winning a stick battle, and then the defense just forgetting that they had to kill the penalty. It was a very unrepeatable goal scored on the power play. There's been a lot of repeatable goals the Golden Knights have scored on the power play this year. That was not one of them at all. So they're still tweaking the power play, trying to figure it out. I think it's pretty clear right now Marner doesn't really work in the Stone spot. I think Theodore's getting too much guff for it not working up top. I don't think he's making all that much of an impact compared to what Marner was doing. I don't think it's any different. In many ways, I actually like the entries with Theodore. So I'm not blaming him at all on that. Now, Marner hasn't really worked in the Stone position. Now they've switched it to a completely different formation, and I didn't think it worked. And the Ducks are not good penalty killing, and the goalie's bad. So I don't think that that's necessarily a long-term solution. One of the best long-term solutions is now also injured, and that's William Karlsson. So that's a bit of an issue. I think it's just going to be a work in progress. I think they're just going to keep looking, keep trying to find different options, and I don't know what the answer is. It's crazy because you sit there and you think about the power play and think about how it got good and when it got to the point that it was good. It started with Hertl. When it was Eichel and Stone and Marchessault on the other side and whoever, Stevenson, Karlsson, Barbashev, whoever was in the middle, it wasn't good. It was not good. Then Hertl came in, and now all of a sudden they started clicking. It was very good. Inevitably, then Dorofeev takes the spot. He's been very good in that spot. I think any individual piece outside of the guy on the top, when it's in the 1-3-1, which is what we're used to, that guy I don't think matters all that much. That's probably unfair, but I think that's the least important of the 5. Stone might be the most important of the 5. There's an argument that Pavel is the most important of the 5 if you don't have the replacement for Pavel, which was Olofsson, which is now doing that job for Colorado. Still don't know why that guy's on this team. Either way, that's an important spot. Hertl is a massively important spot. And obviously the puck's on Jack's stick most of the time. Jack is a huge part of the entries. That's an important part of it. So when little things aren't there, one guy isn't there, one guy has to move around, different things, it's a problem. Why is Barbashev not on Stone's spot on the power play 1? I will tell you, because he's the wrong hand. So if you think about the situation, you're going to have to visualize this with me, because I don't think me doing this is going to be all that helpful. On the side, so if we're looking at the goal, we have Jack Eichel on the left-hand side. He is right-handed. He can shoot from there with his body towards the ice, all the space. He's got all his eyes are up. He can make all the plays. If he were left-handed, he would be backwards, and now he would not be able to see all of these other things. So he needs to be right-handed to be over there, to be that half-wall, the puck type of guy. Now, when he gets the puck down to the goal line to right-handed Mark Stone, stand in front of the goal. Goal is off to your left, right? To get the puck across to Dorofeev, you have to be right-handed. You have to be able to swing the puck across right-handed. To get the puck into Hurdle, it's much easier if you are right-handed. Otherwise, your back is to the goal. Instead, he's facing the goal. Finally, the jam play is only available if you are right-handed. If they are going to use Barbashev in that spot, it has to switch sides. And I don't think it can switch sides because Pavel is that a shooter is on the one side. I don't think if you swap that, that's going to work. I don't think Eichel works as good on the other side with his back turned to the play. And I don't think Pavel's going to work as well with the one-timer coming away from him. He's left-handed, as opposed to coming towards him as he's able to get those shots with his body facing the goal. So to me, the two right-handed sticks on what is effectively, when we're looking at the goal, the left-hand side, is why that has had as much success as they've had. Now, when they put Marner there, he is also right-handed. He should be able to make those plays, but has not played a ton in that position, and it just has not clicked. He's making what Mark Stone makes look easy, he's making it look harder. Which issue is it? Is Mark Stone's job actually easy and he's doing it and Marner can't do it? Probably not. Mark Stone's really fucking good. That's what it probably is. He makes it look easy. It's not easy. That's why Barbashev's not there. I don't think they can swap the entire thing. What is the single biggest challenge facing the Golden Knights this season? The answer to that question to me is finding the answer to who is going to be the lockdown number one defenseman that's going to be able to turn the game around when things are not going in their direction. I think offensively, they're going to be able to score enough. I am a little bit worried of what it looks like in the playoffs if they're not a team that's willing to shoot. No one's able to step up. We'll get to that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But to me, the biggest issue is the defense is one short. Everybody's up one roll from where they need to be. And to me, that's a problem. It's manifested itself in a different way than I expected it to this point, but that has been a problem. And I don't know that that's a correctable problem because that player is very, very, very difficult to get. Arguably the hardest thing to get in the entire league is that style of player. The number one absolute lockdown stud defenseman that offers defense and offense. They had it in Alex Pietrangelo. His hips don't work anymore. That's a problem. December 1st comes. Is Carter Hart starting? No. I don't think he will be put into the starting role immediately. However, I do believe it will be quickly that he is in the rotation. I believe it will remain a rotation all the way until Hill gets back around Christmas, or at least somewhere around there. I do believe he will play games in December. Where those games are, when those games are, we're going to read a lot into all of it. Because the first game's at home, I don't think he's going to play that one. Then there's a couple games. One's at Madison Square Garden. One's on the island, on Long Island. One is in Philly. I don't think he's playing that one. There's one in Columbus. Maybe that one fits to get away from it. I think they're well aware that there's going to be scrutiny on it and that it's not going to be easy for everybody involved. And so they're going to try to find a way to fit it and do it the right way, at least in their own minds. I don't think they've done it the right way to this point. Watch my video on that. I'm sure there will be more to come as we learn more about what they're actually going to do. But I do believe they are very conscious about it. I don't know how they couldn't be. And they're going to find ways to do this in a way that is the least stressful to everyone. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what the answer to that is. But yes, he's going to play. I also don't know what's going to happen a week from today when he's eligible to play AHL games. There's mostly home AHL games. So I don't know what's going to happen there. Is there a logical explanation as to why Smith and Saad have been snake bitten? I don't want to go completely off the deep end of they're not all that good anymore because I'm not there yet. I am concerned in both cases. I think Smith has been better and more consistent than Saad has been, but I think the high points of Saad's game have been better than the high points of Smith's game. I think Smith absolutely should have goals so far. I think Saad definitely could have had the one. There's a couple of other ones. I don't think they've been both. I don't think either of them have been impactful enough to just blame it on that. Now, if they both are sitting there with multiple goals, we probably feel a little bit different, especially if they're goals on top of the goals the Golden Knights have already got. Snake bitten is tricky because we usually indicate snake bitten as unlucky, right? Like the guy's snake bitten, therefore it's going to turn around. Sometimes snake bitten's not unlucky. Sometimes the snake is poisonous. See Brendan Leipzig. That player was here, remember year one. All these great chances, looked like he was going to be a dangerous player. They never went in. Snake bitten might be it might be poisonous with Alex Holtz. It was all year. And when it's all year, maybe it doesn't turn around. So the alarm bells are going off. I'm trying to use different analogies. I've used alarm bells. I've used red flags. I don't know. Safety car for the I don't know. That we need to know. We got to learn more, and we're going to get it over time. I do think Carlson, if he's out, is going to make it difficult on Smith and Saad. There is an argument. There is a potential situation where both of them need to be replaced by the time the postseason comes around. There's also a real chance that both of them start to figure it out a little bit more, and that some of the things that have been going wrong are just unluck to this point. I'm not sure what the answer is yet. I believe we will get the answer as we move forward. 14 games is a decent sample. It's not a massive sample. So time will tell on that one. It's obviously going to be top of mind for all of us. So we'll keep an eye on that. The last thing I want to talk about is the little switch that they made on the D. I'm interested in how it goes. I was expecting it to happen at some point. I think long-term, it has to be the case. That is, Korczak played with Hanifin. Whitecloud played with Lazan. Whitecloud was on the ice for all 3 goals. Hanifin was on the ice for all 3 goals. Against Ducks. All 3 Ducks. I think long-term, for this team to have the most success, Korczak's got to step into a role as a legitimate, good second pair defenseman. That's probably got to happen by April of this season. If they're going to win the Stanley Cup, I think that has to happen. Whitecloud, I think, is fine in the role, but I think the ceiling isn't quite there. I don't believe that long-term he's going to be that player that's going to thrive in that role. I think he can thrive in a third pair role, which has happened, which they won the Stanley Cup in him doing. I think inevitably that torch has to be passed. Today was the beginning of that being passed. How will Korczak do with that torch being passed? That's what I want to keep an eye on. Today, scored the goal. That's awesome. So that's a good indicator that this may work, because I think it needs to work. I think long-term, that needs to be the answer. I think the long-term solution for now with this group of 6 players, we could figure out whether Lazan should be one of the 6. I know everybody has their own opinions on that, whatever. I am not paging Rasmus Anderson, by the way. I want to make that clear. I know I've been against some of the trades they've made in the past. I will be against this one again. I do not believe Rasmus Anderson is a 1A defenseman. I think if you watch a Calgary Flames game, you will agree with me that he's not a 1A defenseman, because they would be better defensively if he were. So to me, if the price is cheap and we're trying to get him as the 2A, whatever, second pair A guy, fine. I don't think that's what the price is going to be. I think he wants $9 million. I think he wants to be the most expensive defenseman on the team, and I think it's going to cost you first round picks. Don't love it. Do not love it. So for me right now, Theodore and McNabb are going to stay together. I don't see that changing. I think Hanifin and Korczak has to be the answer. Today, better, but put together out of necessity, put together out of, oh shit, everything else isn't going well. Let's see what happens, right? So it's a scissor lift, Willie. It's not a Zamboni. It's a scissor lift that they like to drive back and forth while I'm doing this. It's been fun. So that's a change. Keep your eye on that. I think Monday's going to be interesting just on that alone. Monday's morning skate, we got some things to learn. Are they going to keep the lines as they were? Is Carlson going to be there? What are the pairs going to be? Which goalie plays, right? Like, that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. So come to morning skate, I guess. Doesn't look like they're going to skate. Or don't. Just follow me on Twitter. X. I still don't like calling it X. I still call this shit Periscope. I can't change. I'm the old man who yells at the cloud now. Don't change the name of my shit. It's Periscope. It's Twitter. It's YouTube. Is it still YouTube? I think it is. TikTok, I don't like it. I don't like this thing. I don't know. Leave me alone. That's all I got for today. Hopefully things get better as the rest of this homestand goes on, because we're now not looking great in the homestand. It's not been a good homestand so far, even though they got the point today and potentially were the better team today, certainly in the last 20 minutes. Hasn't looked great. Florida's up next. Not an easy game. They're not what they were because they're missing two of their key players, but that's going to be an interesting game. We'll see what happens there. That's all I got for tonight. Good night. Thanks again to the Jimmerson Law Firm for sponsoring all of this. Now, good night.